Welcome to YellBro. I am Jordan, and today, I guess we're going to cover some videos where, once again, these are individuals who I don't know. I don't watch so much of their content, if any at all. I mean, somewhat here or there. But I want to hear these guys talking about a topic that I've considered and looked into. uh, more of the foreign policy stuff. But these guys are going to, I guess, talk specifically about Israel. Because that's the thing to do right now, I guess. And I'm curious what these guys will say. Trust me, it's not Tucker Carlson. It's his guest. But before I get started, don't forget to share, support, or hopefully donate to all the links in the description box. Check them out, read them, then share them. It's that simple. Wait, share them, then donate. Read them, share them, donate. Do it now. Do it now, or Iran might attack you. Do it right. Iran might fund a proxy group to fuck you up, bro. That bully in school, it was Iran. Attack you stepped on, Iran. Cena, John Cena, he joined Iran, bro. He's in Hezbollah. That's why he beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, bro. That's what happened. The Rock, he joined Hezbollah too. That's why he turned heel. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, donate. Anyways, so in this video, we're going to have Tucker Carlson and Matt Walsh. Now, I've brought up guys like Steven Crowder, where they have to give tacit. Well, Crowder's he's not even criticizing Israel, but the way these guys think, it's a giant monolith, kind of, to where something like AIPAC automatically means Israel, like they're the same thing. Which I mean, just based on human nuance, that doesn't make sense to me as them being the same exact thing. But Crowder thought like, okay, I won't criticize the actions of Israel where they're the government of Israel where they're blatantly genociding another people. Right? They're trying to erase these fools off the planet Earth or get them the fuck out of the territories. Right? They're doing that blatantly. Yeah, everyone seems to be aware of that now. Israelis are waking up to it. They're like, yo, fuck these guys. These guys don't even fucking care about us, bro. Fuck these guys. Right? They're government over there. And they're, I guess, more hardcore religious right wing, I guess they'd be called, but whatever. Point is, people are paying attention to this stuff, and they're not happy about it. And they're so not happy about it that even guys that have kept their fucking mouth shut for years and years about that whole conflict over there before October 7th are now have to speak up about it because their fans are probably all like, why aren't you talking about this, huh? Maybe not so much the war violence stuff, but they want to, like, why does Israel have so much control over our government? Even though I don't think that's the case. I think they work in tandem, like two gangsters working together. Right? It's fucking what's his name? Meyer Lansky and Lucky Luciano. Right? One Italian, one Jewish, but both gangsters working together to fuck our worlds up. Even though they probably did a lot, they actually probably did more than governments to help their own people. To keep it a buck, bro. Those gangsters probably did more for their own, like their neighborhoods and shit, than these fools do for us. These government gangsters. I just want to keep it honest on that. They probably gave out turkeys on fucking Thanksgiving and shit or whatever. They help kids that are athletes or whatever, or grandmothers who don't got their whole family's gone, so they help them out and give them money and shit. They probably do more for the people than these motherfuckers do, to keep it a buck. But anyways, point is, I look at these guys as a partnership, a gangster partnership, but the leaning narrative is that Israel controls everything the U.S. does, right? Which I think is a misnomer and going to lead down a bad road. Just keep it honest. When people say, "Oh my God, Twitter is flooded with anti-Semitism," like if you go through it with a decent amount of people, especially if you get caught in the algorithm of it, yeah, there's people that could believe that, and it would make sense. Not that I believe in this term. I don't really believe in racism or anti-Semitism. I think they're just deductions from the king culprit, which is ignorance. All right, ignorance of self and ignorance of the other, because you're ignorant of yourself. That's what I think about it, and it's like, and it's kind of just racism. Anti-Semitism is just racism, isn't it? Let's just be honest about it. Anyways, there are people that would consider that a lot of what's happening on Twitter as anti-Semitism, and but it's once again growing in popularity. This style of commentary, right? It's people cheering for when there was like wildfires in Israel, cheering for fucking the fires to grow and spread. It's like, what? How the fuck does that help anything? And it's making me think these motherfuckers don't actually care about that there's the genocide thing happening. That's why that and the subjugation from years before the genocide that are worth noting. Like, oh, these are crimes against humanity that are happening when you see someone's house get fucking bulldozed that they spent time on making. Like, actually making themselves, or a school that they made themselves. They worked hard and made a school for the kids, and they fucking knock it down. That's horrendous. But guess what? As usual, right on cue, people lose sight of, well, they might not have cared in the first place about the actual human cost of things. Because if they did, there's no way you're cheering on fire burning down people's houses or burning actual people. There's no way you cheer for that. The thing you should be cheering for is that people come to their senses and come up with a better way to live their lives than knocking down someone else's life. So it's like, you guys are fucking guilty. Who's the guy? Dan Brazilian, whatever his fucking name is, this loser, adopting a fucking topic, then running into the wrong direction with it, possibly on purpose. Let me keep it a buck here. These guys might be subverting on purpose, so that when you actually do get into the topic, you end up talking about, oh yeah, fucking stupid Jews, stupid Israel. They control our government. They control everything over here. Like, fuck that shit, bro. It honestly takes people, to, especially people who spent years talking about this legitimately, like an Abby Martin. Where's Abby Martin at? Is she being held up as like, oh my god, you saw this before we did? Thank you for reporting all this, Abby Martin. It's like, no. Right? Or fucking, I don't know, like Vanessa Beeley. Right? Or people like that. Like, you guys were talking about these topics years in advance. Instead, who do people go to? No offense to him. I think the guy means well. I think he's just kind of a dummy on this. But I think he, like, authentically believes what he believes. But someone like Jake Shields, maybe even the Dan Brazilian guy, maybe. Even though he looks weirder to me. I don't know. Right? And it's just like, those guys have taken the fucking topic and ran to left field with it. When, like, there are, like, grounded moral reasons to have certain opinions. And these guys just, I don't know, it feels like they're subverting the topic itself. But that's just my opinion. Once again, you don't have to agree with me. I know there's people who worship, like, Nick Fuentes or whatever. Even though him, I think, it's possible he means well. But am I weary? You bet your ass I'm weary. Bet your ass. Like, at the very least, I smell a strategist. At the very least. And to me, that's not a good thing. Because that means people are willing to bullshit, lie, or whatever for the sake of winning the grand strategy. Or the grand prize, right? It's where your labor pays off. Your strategical hula hooping and gymnastics pay off at the end. I'm rambling and ranting, aren't I? Whatever. It's my show. Fuck off if you don't like it. Young Turks. Anyways, so you heard my gripes about, like, where this topic can go. And because there's such popularity and momentum moving in that direction, although I think hopefully more so towards, like, yo, this is immoral what's happening in Gaza and in the West Bank. And this looks like a corrupt government doing corrupt actions, and we have problems with that. Right? Versus, you know, everyone's blackmailed by Israel. Israel owns our government. Donald Trump is owned by Israel. Yada, yada, yada. Right? But either way, there is momentum for all of this. And some of the guys who kept their fucking mouth shut for years are now feel the need to say something because the topic is that large. I'm gonna keep it honest with you. The topic is that large, even though people were. A lot of these guys are Trump supporters, and everyone was crying like, "Yo, this guy's way like his political support for Israel is way over the top." Even though I think the Democrats would do the same, just in a quieter way, but his outward verbal support for Israel and definitely some of the domestic policies are so far over the top that I don't know. Somehow Trump fans didn't realize that, and they actually voted the motherfucker in for it. Or not for that, but they're like, oh no, yeah, yes, he's a little bit too too much favoritism towards Israel, just a little bit. And they find out, okay, it's way in that direction, way in that direction. In fact, it's so far in that direction. Is that motherfucker blackmailed? Which is what they go with instead of recognizing the gangster that he was during his first 4 years as president. Damn it, I'm rambling again. Fuck you, it's my show. Anyways, let's check out Tucker's show. And he has on Matt Walsh, employee of the Daily Wire. And maybe he has some questions about Israel now. Maybe the talk has grown so far that he has questions. Or the U.S. and Israel's relationship, at least. All right, here we go. Okay, well, let me hit the space bar. There we go.
What did you think of the debate between...
And that audio is way too quiet. Let's turn that up a bit. Like right there.
Between Dave Smith. What did you think of the debate between Dave Smith and
audio
Douglas
change
Murray on Rogan a couple of weeks ago? Did you watch that? And
I did. I watched. I ended up watching. I wasn't planning on watching the whole thing, but I watched the whole thing. I'm constantly hearing from the peanut gallery demanding that I kind of give my verdict or my take on Israel and Israel versus Palestine and all this kind of stuff. And I have given my take. And my take is I don't care that much. I'm not just America first. I'm an American chauvinist in that I only care about my own country.
So I want to tell him, or should I? Of U.S.'s role in that whole engagement, that whole genocide. Also, they claim to be Christian and not care about a fucking genocide. That's why I'm closer friends with Jesus than this guy is. Because he was following devil worshippers his whole life, not realizing, like, damn, have I been Christian? Have I really? Have I? But, better late than never, right? To realize that, to really open up your empathetic heart and see the world for like, man, a bad thing that happens anywhere is a problem everywhere. Like that MLK guy said. Like, damn, I should really take that to heart. Nah, fuck that, I'm too lazy. Let the fucking people across the world die. Who gives a fuck? But anyways, he should care because there's direct support, right, by the U.S. Like, a lot of direct support by the U.S. for Israel and what they're doing. And obviously, if you took the dead bodies, the dead children, and brought them right to Matt Walsh's front steps, he'd have no choice but be like, all right, I care now. Which is like, that's too late. That's already too late, Matt Walsh. Already. Anyways, let's continue.
I'm not just America first. I'm an American chauvinist in that I only care about my own country. I honestly
this should be a poor answer, but people are going to be okay
of other
with
countries
it.
Well. I think they all have a right to defend themselves, and they should. I think that if you can't defend yourself as a nation, or if you can't survive without being propped up by another government, say ours, then you shouldn't exist as a country.
Wait. If you can't exist without being propped up by another government, say ours, you shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Israel cannot exist without being propped up by the United States.
You think?
Well, you have Europe to, well, I guess he's saying now, but, the whole Balfour Declaration and all that, right? UK directly involved in. The U.S. as well. Even Middle Eastern countries, I think, but they thought they were going to get something out of it, but instead they were like, yeah, fuck you. you get nothing. Anyways. But yeah, without the backing of the U.S., Israel would have a rough time in the Middle East. In fact, he might be right. Like they might have gotten rolled a long time ago. Let's just be honest. Because, well, it's the way they behave. Like, at the very least, it's the way they behave. Right? They commit war crimes willy-nilly, and no one holds them to account. Right? If the U.S. lost power over, like, not energy power, but like lost like their military might overnight, you bet your ass countries are going to be fucking with the U.S. That's just what's going to happen because, let's be real, they've been fucking around the world the whole fucking time. They've been fucking shit up everywhere, and these people do not forget. They pass the stories on generation to the next. They know what the fuck our country has done, and they're fucking either they're from villages to cities to countries. What we've done all over the fucking world. People know already. I think most of them don't even blame U.S. civilians. They look at the government like, yo, your government's been a fuckboy for a long fucking time. So yeah, there's a lot of countries around the world, if they lost military might, right, they're fucked. But in this case, yes, Israel, without the backing of the U.S., I think they'd be fucked. Even with all the shit we gave them so far, if we stop right now, I mean, they got nukes now. That's a little, yeah. Whatever. Tell me in the comment section your opinion on that one, because I do think they'd be fucked. But I think the nukes thing, it could be an equalizer somewhat. But all right, here we go.
You shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Israel cannot exist without being propped up by the United States.
You think so?
Its nuclear program came from the United States. Its weapons come from the United States. Its economy is supported by the United States. I'm not attacking Israel. I'm just saying in point of fact, I think that's true. I mean, Israel thinks it's true, or they wouldn't have armies of lobbyists and influencers in the United States. Bibi wouldn't have shown up twice in the past 3 months.
From my perspective, it seems like they can handle themselves quite fine. But any country, if...
Is that based on learned information, or is that based on you studied it? First he says, I don't care. Then the next sentence he says, well, I think Israel can handle himself. Like, what? Based on my opinion, my perspective. And how's that? I just laid out, I literally just laid that out. What's his reason? I'm wrecked by that one. You should give a fucking reason for that one. How would they make it by themselves? With no U.S. backing, or no, let's be real, no Western power backing. It's not just the U.S. The Europe definitely helps with Russia. Europe definitely helps with Israel. Russia helps with Israel. Ukraine helps with Israel. There's a bunch of nations there. If you say like, okay, they're just on their own, kind of. Like I said, nukes. I guess the deterrent of all deterrents. So. Yeah, I'd love to hear Matt Walsh's explanation for that. Maybe this video clip doesn't have that in here. Maybe he did say it at some point, but usually when I go back and watch the full clip and look for things, like this is usually just the crux of the conversation, or the crux of his point, which to me is a non-point so far. Like, oh, whatever, Israel, Palestine. Listen, I don't care. I care about America first. Apparently didn't know that we were boosting the fuck out of Israel with money, weapons, intelligence, and all that shit. I guess he didn't know that. I guess he learned right now. But at the same time, he's saying, like, oh no, I believe they can handle themselves. Someone make that make sense to me. Are you just lying to Tucker right now? Is that what you're doing? You're just lying to him? You said you want America first, and you want nothing to do with. You don't care about what's happening over there. You want nothing to do with it. Then he tells you like, we are fucking holding them up. We are holding them up. And then your response is, oh no, they can handle themselves. Oh fuck! More IQ tests. Here we go.
And influencers in the United States, Bibi wouldn't have shown up twice in the past 3 months.
From my perspective, it seems like they can handle themselves
based on what?
Quite fine. But any country, if there is any country out there that fundamentally cannot exist without being subsidized by American taxpayers, then not only should that country not exist, but that country already does not exist.
Okay. So he's saying, oh, you aren't actually a country unless you, or if you're being boosted by the United States to such a degree. Okay. I mean, let's be real. Matt Walsh is a dumb fuck. I've even seen some of his documentaries. They're kind of lame and like not really not so nuanced, and more so he's just trying to sell a narrative rather than like actually try to like reach a truth or tell a truth about the world. It's almost like he doesn't give a fuck about the truth. It's just about selling a narrative that he wants to be the case, which is just the kind of antithesis of a documentary. Like, he might be worse than what Michael Moore does. Like, Michael Moore does similar shit where it's almost looks like a movie scene, right? And he can do editing and set people up and shit like that to make it look like he did some shit with his document, like he'd made some sort of move in his documentary. When in reality, if you look at what's actually happening, he could be bullshitting people. Just being honest. Using camera tricks to make you think, like, oh, this is real. And that's what his shit looks like. At least some of the ones I've seen. They look like bullshit. And he's also, let's be real, if this dude took the task on foreign policy, he's going to give you some of the worst answers you've ever heard. If I had to guess. And it might look better or worse depending on the time period. Like, that's how these guys fucking roll. If it's Iraq wartime, just like Crowder, these fools will be out here saying, yes, yeah, they did 9/11. We need to go into Iraq. We need to do it. They'll sell the fucking war. Granted, neither of those guys were probably popular at the time, but I'm sure these dweebs like this. I mean, Tucker himself did that as well, right? Tucker did that too. Depending on the time period, I think it's like well, let me explain. Here's my idea of why I think they're full of shit. It's that in one time period, guys like Matt Walsh or Steven Crowder, even though I think of Walsh as a little bit better than Crowder, but not really. I don't know enough to say a lot better, but this is my guess of the person I've seen so far, is that if it was Iraq wartime, he'd be selling the Iraq war, along with Crowder and Tucker. If years go by and the constituent populace mindset has changed, I'm not going to call it evolved. I would call it evolved if people didn't fall for these wars over and over and over, and these same politicians over and over and over again. If they didn't fall for that, I'd say evolved, but they keep falling for that same type of shit. But the point is that the database, as far as what is okay to say and what's not okay to say, has changed. So in today's world, you can't be so pro-Iraq war, Afghanistan war. You have to finally be against those wars, right? After years and years of supporting it or saying nothing about it, now you have to be against it. But when it comes to Houthis, Hamas, Iran, these type situations, they can once again wave their pro-war flags. Now, I think what's happening here with Matt Walsh is it's being masked as, oh, yeah, I don't even care about what's happening over there. I don't care what's happening over there. That might be the new approach as far as making it seem like you're not pro-neocon style foreign policy. Just like Crowder, who, like, he will openly say, I'm all for the foreign policy, blow them up type shit, because they're all a bunch of deranged extremist jihadis, just kill them all. He's cool with that. But there needs to be let's be real, not a true support of what the actual policy is, which does involve Israel. So a guy like Matt Walsh will say, well, I don't care. Meanwhile, I don't care, and I'm just America first. But meanwhile, America is heavily funding that fucking genocide. Heavily. For years, heavily. Before the fucking before October 7th. Heavily funding. For years and years and years. Of course, Matt Walsh knew nothing about that, obviously. According to his own words, he knows nothing about it. Somehow. So, in this type of strategy for Matt Walsh, like, he can't, because of the team he plays on, he can't just say Israel's doing horrible things What you do is you back off the topic and say, I don't even know about it. I don't know what's going on over there. I don't even care. Then when you find out that the U.S. is funding them, you still don't be like, oh, fuck, we're funding them like this? So it does involve us, like directly involves us. Yeah, I'm against that. Doesn't say that. He talks in smokes and mirrors and riddles and shit. Like, yo, say the fucking blatant shit, bro. Like, say it blatantly. But once again, I think guys like this, like Matt Walsh, they don't give a fuck about you. They're not your friend. They're not your pal. They don't need you to come into my fucking comment section and tell me off about something. Granted, I don't mind. You can come through here and get wrecked if you want to. Or put up a good argument. You could do that too. Or correct me on something. That's also welcome. But he's here to create a suspension of disbelief. That's what that shit looks like. Now, once again, I have not seen the whole article. I'm only going based off this clip. He looks like he's trying to create a suspension of disbelief. Like, yo, maybe Matt Walsh could lean towards our side one day. By giving you a non-answer, a blank non-answer on a blatant Holocaust-like scenario happening over there. Blatantly. His taxpayer dollars are going to it. I don't even care about that topic. Even if he said, listen, I'm Christian first. I don't even care about all this other play. I care about Christians. He still has to put his fucking face in that topic. Because Christians are being slaughtered as well. Anyone Palestinian living in Gaza is getting shit on. No matter your religion or any of that shit. They've killed people not from Palestine as well. Doctors, medical workers, journalists. They die too. Fuck, they've killed Israelis. Israel has killed Israelis. And it's like, he's given these non-answers. Hope, this is my guess. Oh, well, this is my suspicion, which I'm leaving room as being possible. Also, I'm leaving other possibilities out there as well. Like, maybe something else is the case. But right now, I'm throwing out there as a suspicion that Matt Walsh is giving these non-answers, hoping time goes by, and that a new topic takes over to where he can now start ranting and yelling again. And look like a hero or a good guy. Look, there's gay volleyball. There's trans volleyball players, see? To regain your support. Because that's what they did in the first place. Hey guys, remember facts don't care about your feelings? Remember that guy? And you're not a girl. You're a man. And destroying college lefties, blue-haired college kids. Remember that whole little movement that you all built them up to fucking gargantuan levels? You built them all the way up to the super mainstream. Multi-million-dollar contracts. You built them up to that, you dummies. And now what? And once again, the reason why I say dummies is because it was pretty blatant to see. That's why I go to foreign policy so much. Because I think it was very blatant to see that these guys, like if you brought up a certain war topic, these guys are all gun-ho for it. But everyone else thought they were the intellectuals in the room. They're the smart guys. And this happens over and over and over again. And to me, on the surface, not in reality, but on the surface, the most blatantly obvious dumb guy logic version of a moral IQ test is foreign policy when it comes to politics. Clear as day. Hear someone's stance on foreign policy, and you might start looking at them differently if you actually get those answers. That's why if people were asking Crowder about foreign policy way back in the day, you would have found out this motherfucker's full-blown neocon. Full-blown. Elliot Abrams equal Steven Crowder. Same shit. John Bolton equal Steven Crowder. Ben Shapiro equal Dick Cheney. Or actually, let's say Netanyahu. It's like now they're finding out because the main topic is now Israel. And look what they're doing in the Middle East, and the U.S. is supporting it. And look what's happening in our domestic policy. And now they're like, now people are like, oh shit, Ben Shapiro's full of shit. Because the IQ, the moral IQ does it so blatantly, like a simple answer, that these fools give you the wrong answers and stand by the wrong answers to where it's like, oh, you're a creep, aren't you? Yo, Douglas Murray, you're a fucking creep, aren't you? Damn. Look at this shit. I'm just saying. Like, that's what people should. I mean, that's why I'm like, yo, back in the day, even on this channel, back in the day, where I'm like, yo, look at these guys when they answer things about foreign policy. There was a discussion between Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro talking about foreign policy. And I'm talking about these are the heights of their shit. Where they're at their most popular, they're not banned on YouTube or anything like that. Like Crowder wasn't banned yet or whatever the fuck he is. These guys are at their heights because the blue-haired lefties and trans hockey players, right? And you're not a man. All that shit, right? At the height of their thing. They did a little video about foreign policy. Or about Iran, I think, in particular. Should I find that real fast? Let me find that real fast. Let me see if I can find that. A while ago. It might have been, who knows if it was deleted or not. Let me see. Yeah, let's copy this link address. Let's send it on over. Once again, keep your eyes off my DMs, bro. Keep your eyes out of there. How dare you? Yeah, should be it. Take a quick look. Fuck, wrong tab. There we go. Take a peek. A real quick peek. Real quick.
Angry Ben is always a fun Ben. Glad to have our first guest. You know him, of course, host of the Ben Shapiro Show on the Daily Wire, now national.
6 years ago.
You can follow him at Ben Shapiro, so we can take it out on you and not just me. Ben, why are you such an angry Jew today?
God dang it! Who booked this? Why am I even here? Oh.
Ben's so cool.
You've done a lot of Percocet.
My lawyer says I shouldn't talk to the cops.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It does work really well on foreign policy, it turns out, because it turns out that if Iran loses, everybody wins.
Yes.
And so that's been really good.
I just got done saying right before this. What's wrong with being? I said people will often say, "Well, that's reductive." What's wrong with being reductive with a nation that commits gross violations of human rights when they don't have a nuclear arsenal? There is no middle ground.
Again, this is the part.
So once again, I'll link the video. You can watch it on your own. People today, right now, are worried about Iran, but it's like these guys were selling this to their audience years ago. Years ago, they were selling this to their audience. But you can't make this shit up. And once again, the moral IQ test of foreign policy when it comes to politics it's one of one, bro, in my opinion. It's hard to find like a little bit of like gray area with things. It's harder to do that with foreign policy because you're talking about dead bodies piling up somewhere, or bullets being shot, or bombs being dropped. Right? When you hear about abortion topic, right? There's a lot of question about choice and should the government have control over this? How long in the womb should they be allowed to terminate, a baby or whatever? Like, is it killing a human being, or is it killing a fucking microorganism, like whatever, right? It seems like a lot more nuance in the debate. But with foreign policy, when you hear these guys talk, if you learn enough about foreign policy and you hear these guys talk about it, you'll be like, wait a minute, these are devil worshippers. What the fuck am I hearing right now? Like, they're not just talking about foreign policy, they're selling. This is selling. They're trying to get you to be in favor of being against Iran through the guise of initially, right, of blue-haired lefty kids, Trump derangement syndrome, free speech on campuses, protect your guns, right? that thing Peterson was talking about, where there's like kind of psychopathic behavior to adopt people's narratives and sell it back to them and pretend you're one of them, to transform into one of them, and then when the time is right, move them in the direction you want them to move in. Well, this is them doing that. I'm not even calling Ben a psychopath. I think Crowder is. I think Crowder's a psycho. Shapiro's just a little whipping boy, bro. He's a little conditioned, brainwashed little fuck boy. But anyways, yeah, these guys sell narratives, man. It is what it is. And once again, it's always too late when these things happen. And it's funny that people like me say things like this, and no one, like, not no one, but most people never hear about it until it's too late, until we're at the doorstep of war with Iran. It really is. Like, I'm telling you, like, the tide has turned as far as favoritism in favor or against these wars or all that shit, right? Like, there's like a negative view about going to war with random Middle Eastern countries. I mean, granted, they fucked the narrative up and said, it's all for Israel, as Jimmy Dore screams into the microphone. It's all about Israel. Every little thing is Israel's fault. It's all them. They're controlling us. Trump's being lied to. Blah, 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 blah. You're going to hear a lot of that shit. And they're going to blame another foreign country. Instead of, like, looking at their own government. Like, wait a minute. Maybe we got tricked. Maybe it's not Trump getting tricked. Maybe we got tricked. Fuck. How do we make sure that never happens again? Never brought up in conversations. Never, ever. How do we make sure this shit doesn't happen again? Like, Democrats should be like, damn, we fell for Obama. How do we make sure this shit never happens again? Republicans are saying, damn, we got tricked by Trump. How do we make sure this shit doesn't happen again? Once again, not everyone. There's still a lot of hanger-on, like, motherfuckers hanging on, right? There's still people still supporting Obama to this day. And Biden. And there's people still supporting Trump at this moment right now. But more and more, the tide is turning. And it's like, well, what do we do now? You go to war with fucking Israel? They cause all our problems. Go to war with Israel. Is that what you want to do? That's just another Middle Eastern war, you dummies. And they have more backers than just the U.S. So I'm thinking, like, hey, is there a way for us to never get fooled again? I asked that question, but guess what? Who am I asking it to? Who am I actually asking it to? How many people are going to see this? No one's going to see this shit. Not saying I have all the answers. It's just like, there's a lot of people asking these questions. They're like, yo, I'm never getting fooled again. Fuck that. I don't like getting tricked. I'm not getting tricked again. But for some reason, that's not where the masses go to. They'd rather see Crowder kind of somewhat talk about AIPAC a little bit. Shapiro's just, his audience is just dwindling. They run the Tucker Carlson, who once again figured it out way too late. Right? We are funding a genocide and we're on the doorsteps of war with Iran. He was too late. Way too late. But for some reason, when Tucker's fucking up, he gets an audience. And when Tucker's getting it right, he gets an audience. Somehow. That makes no fucking sense to me. But, once again, man of the times. If he was warmongering in 2002, which he was, he's one of the biggest stars on Fox. Or where was he, on CNN or something? He's a popular guy when he's warmongering, right? Back then. But if he did that now, he'd be looked at like this dude. But this dude was warmongering when there was no, well, there was plenty of wars, but there was no outright overt war thing happening that let's be real, these audiences would pay attention to where, like, it was okay when he was warmongering. But now he does it, he looks horrible. And with Tucker changing with the times and really, hey, maybe 9/11 was an inside job. And I was like, damn, yo, Tucker's a truth teller, yo. He's a truth teller. Man of the fucking times. Looks like a genius now. Hey, same thing swings the other direction, in my humble opinion. Kyle Kalinske right now looks like a fucking genius. Looks like a genius. Not really, but if you can like read what's happening, not really, but whatever. So people are like, damn, Kyle's onto this. But if Kamala won, Kyle would look like the biggest cunt in the room. You voted for that cunt. You voted for Kamala, bro. And you told us to vote for her. Look what she's doing. Either that or just go to sleep and pretend nothing's happening. Lose-lose to me. Lose-lose scenario there. So when I talk about the idea like, yo, keep it real, make sure this shit never happens again, I mean it. Otherwise, shit won't change. You think the Democratic Party or the Republican Party are going to start just changing just because they want to? Naturally? They're going to naturally start like doing the right thing? Like, no. The populace has to change to where it's like, yo, you don't have a chance around us if you're going to talk about shit like this. If this is your policy on this topic, you get nowhere with us. And guess what? Guess what should also be downloaded in the database now is like, yo, they might lie. They might lie. Trump said he's going to cut the military budget. Trump said he doesn't want war with any of these places. I'd rather make a deal than go to war. Like, why are they bombing Yemen? I don't understand why they bombing Yemen. I love WikiLeaks. You'd go to jail. Right? All those blatant lies. Like, okay, now you need to download, like, okay, they could be lying too. Well, damn, Jordan, how do we figure out if they're going to be the right one or not? Now, in Trump's situation during this last run where everyone believed he's all of a sudden quasi-anti-war, or as Joe Rogan calls it, less pro-war. Like, well, he had 4 years in office. Someone hold him to account about it. Like, blatantly hold him to account. And if he dodges, ducks, runs, rants, and then walks away, you got him right there. Like, oh, you're afraid to talk about this, aren't you? Or maybe you're actually pissed off. Either way, answer the fucking question or get the fuck out of the race. Pretty simple, huh? Pretty dumb guy logic simple. If it's someone brand new, I say ask the toughest possible questions you can ask. And guess what? If your journalist doesn't do that for you, they're done too. Like, all right, you can't handle being a journalist. Get the fuck out. Next. Who's our next journalist? Who has the heart to ask questions? In-depth questions. If your candidate puts time limits on their questioning, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. We're not risking anything here. We're making sure this never happens again, like in the real way. Not in the pageantry, feel good, oh my god, we won! Wave your fucking flags. Buy your hat. Buy your Trump coins. Buy your Kamala t-shirts. We won! We finally defeated, not evil, but we defeated the more evil and preserved the less evil. If you think these motherfuckers are just going to change just because they feel like it one day, you're fucking crazy. I think it's a real philosophical question. Has people like AOC or Bernie or Elon Omar, have they changed the party more, or has the party changed them more? I think that's a worthy fucking question. Very worthy question. And with Bernie, I don't even think Bernie's changed. I think he's just the same old fucking, let's be real, independent contractor for the Democratic Party. That's what he seems to be. Even if he means well with his policies. In action, he's like just sort of like a recruiter. Seemingly. But anyways, let's just not get fooled again, guys. So let's move on to the next video with Tim Time, a Jimmy Jam, and this Indian named Myron Gaines. Now, this guy I heard of, I've listened to a little bit of him. He sounded like he talked about some foreign policy stuff, and I heard about him before from being in like the manosphere, like the kind of weird manosphere thing. Like, ew. Like, who was this Indian guy telling me about how to pick up chicks? Who's this Hindu? No offense. I'm trolling, bro. Listen, Asians and Indians. Sorry, guys. You guys lost the race battle here. You're allowed to get made fun of. Native Americans, you're on that list too. But no. Actually, never mind. They changed the Redskins' name. Can't do that anymore. I'm trolling, guys. Don't have a panic attack. Anyways, so Myron Gaines guy, I don't know too much about him, but I have seen him looking a lot like the Jake Shields, the Dan Bazalian. I can't even say his name. Bazarian, or the fuck his name is, or he's like seemed to be coming from that side, the Candace Owens style thing. Maybe less so with Candace, but she's still like whispering in that direction, probably just to get followers. And I don't know this guy, but I don't know. He just smells like something's not right. That's what it smells like to me. Granted, I have not investigated him enough, but like once again with Jake Shields, I feel like some reason to feel like you mean what you're saying, like you actually believe what you're saying, or even the other UFC guy, Bryce Mitchell. Okay, it feels like you believe what you're saying. But people like Candace, fuck no, I don't believe her for a fucking second. And this Myron guy, intuitively, I'm a little suspect of. But hey, who knows? I could be wrong. I heard him say some foreign policy things. I'm like, okay, this guy researched that at the very least. At least a little bit, right? But what do you bring up? Timber Sycamore and all that shit, right? Funding, quote-unquote, rebel groups in Syria and all that. But the main thing I guess I want to find out here is, like, is he going to go, listen, all problems start with Israel? Like, where I'm like, okay, you're way off to me. And then after that point, like, do I believe you when you say it? Or is it, this is the new fad, and you want to be one of the winners of it until the quote-unquote culture changes again and something else becomes very popular? Right? Wasn't he a fed, too? Popped in my head when I said fad. Fad's like an old word, like popular or cool or whatever, pop culture. And I guess this guy was a fed before. Allegedly.
I feel sorry for your mother.
Wait, what?
Just out of context. What happened with this guy?
Anyways, here's Tim.
We're
We're about to find out. I didn't even play this yet. Showed up right in time, bro. All right, here's Tim Time Jimmy Jam with this Myron Gaines Indian dude. Here we go.
What I'm saying is we don't need to be the world police.
Yeah, I agree with you.
There has to be
I think
world
that's a big
police?
problem.
That's a good start, Timmy. I agree with that. Let's continue.
That's a big issue. But see, here's the problem. Israel has forced us to almost be the world police because now we have to be involved in all these Middle Eastern affairs because of Israel to allow them to.
It's not because of
maintain
Israel,
their
it's
support.
Saudi Arabia, it's because of Egypt, it's because of the liberal economic order.
Wow. I need to hear that because I keep hearing that a lot. I heard Jimmy Dore say, it's all for Israel. I'm like, can someone detail that for me to make that make sense? Right? Like, I understand, like, Benjamin Netanyahu went to Congress before we went to war with Iraq and said, like, listen, we need to take down Iraq. Iraq is a threat to all humanity. Was that speech? Was that the influence right there? He said a speech in Congress?
No.
That can't be it, right?
That wouldn't even be the first 5 reasons. It wouldn't be in those first 5 reasons.
Is it that they're our biggest ally and we need to protect our Western-style government that's in the Middle East with all these jihadis around? Could that be it?
Not to that extent.
I mean, but we're pals with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and Turkey. And Israel doesn't like Turkey. Israel used to not like Saudi Arabia. I'm sure they don't like Pakistan. I think they're cool with the UAE and Qatar. And the U.S. is as well. So is Israel mad at us for liking Turkey? Are they mad at us for liking Pakistan?
Do we care?
Were they mad at us for liking Saudi Arabia? Exactly, Anthony. Would we give a fuck? As far as our objectives in the Middle East, would we give a fuck what they thought.
Why the fuck? Who you? I'm like, who you? I was American.
Exactly. So, that I just once again I need more significant proof of how they control our foreign policy. I need like actual real
the only
shit.
thing, I think the biggest example would be the lobby and their interests being reflected by votes in Congress and Senate.
Well, after a certain point, we got rid of the voting thing for wars. Now they don't need any authorization from the fucking Congress.
No, but ancillary things also, the resolutions, like going against the ICC, like defending Israel from the ICC, certain like ancillary things you can do to prop up Israel or protect Israel from certain things. And but you're saying like
I guess
big
so.
PP things. You're saying big PP things though. Big PP things like we make tactical decisions on what countries to attack based on what Israel wants. That's
But I could see that the other way around, where we get
that's
Israel to do
I'm saying
things.
no. I would say if I followed that logic, I'd say that's a mixed bag.
Yeah, like there's plenty of things we would ask Israel to do that they fucking do. Like straight up. What has Israel done as far as the U.S. and Israel, where Israel got the U.S. into something that they didn't want to do themselves? Can someone name a fucking example of that? I don't see one. I don't see one. I really don't. But as far as partnering or having better relations with Saudi Arabia, was that Israel's plan the whole time to be cool with Saudi Arabia? I don't know about that. But the U.S. got it done anyways. Like, yo, guys, chill out, be cool. They might even get them to be cool with Iran, for all we know. Would that be, as far as what we've heard Israel touting around here, would that be their decision as well? But yeah, make peace with Iran. Would that be Israel's choice? If there was a peace deal with them? I don't think so. Did they come up with the Libya option, or did the U.S. do the Libya option? Where we blow up your nuclear facilities and then we take you out one day. Was that Israel's plan? Once again, if you actually look at it, Israel has served as, that's real, bullshit, but nonetheless, an intelligence wing of the U.S. military in the Middle East. Yeah, I think these fools are the ones who got the intel on fucking what's his name? Soleimani. Which allegedly Trump got. I don't think he got permission from them, but they were the only ones he talked to about it, allegedly. Which could be what? Them sharing intelligence. We have sights on where this guy is. Where we'll leave it in your hands. And he's like, all right, I'll take the shot. Or maybe it's what this Indian guy's thinking. It's straight up. Listen, Trump. Listen, my slave Trump. Go kill Soleimani now. Here's where he's at. Kill him. Even though Israel has killed Iranian people in the Middle East. So it's not like they're worried about. I mean, that would be a decent amount of blowback, I would assume. But yeah, you know what? Let's just hear Myron make his case that Israel runs our government. There we go.
Israel has forced us to almost be
You're
a
a
world police,
crybaby.
because
I
now
make
we
fun
have
of
to be
everyone.
involved
All right,
in
shut
all
up.
these Middle Eastern affairs because of Israel to
pussy.
allow them to
It's not because
maintain
of
their
Israel's
support.
getting Saudi Arabia. It's because of Egypt.
It's because of the
Jordan,
liberal
etc.
economic order. Israel's part of it, but it's this order of nations. It's the British Empire. It's all these things, the Commonwealth, whatever you want to call it, the transition of the British Empire into this new organism. It's a technocratic, militaristic hegemony, basically.
We would not have been.
That's the best answer I've heard so far. That dude always be sneaking in these decent answers, but gets no attention. There's like, no one cares what you say. Anyways, it just goes off on something tells me this Myron guy is going to go off in a absolutely different direction than what he just said right there. Like, answer for that. Right? It's about gangsters having hegemony over all corners of the fucking world. as far as what I've seen. Is Israel saying, yo, go into Africa and do this and do that, U.S.? Are they saying that? Or they say, hey, deport your people to fucking El Salvadorian prisons or illegal immigrants, right? Or deport these illegal immigrants who may or may not be a part of some gang or some fucking cartel or whatever. Was that Israel's idea? Was the tariffs Israel's idea? Like, so... Whatever. All right, here we go.
Militaristic hegemony, basically.
We would not have been in all the foreign
Satellite
wars
nations.
in the Middle East had it not been for Israel.
That's a gross over exaggeration.
You don't agree?
Tell me to prove it. Prove it.
I think you hyper focus on just Israel, ignoring all the other factors. I think it's fair to say that Israel is a very strong factor in our involvement in the Middle East.
There's always going to be other
100%.
factors, but they're by far the most prominent and the biggest reason why we've
Saudi
had the
Arabia
war.
is.
You think Saudi Arabia is?
Yeah, because of their control of the flow of oil. If Saudi Arabia dumps oil into the market, they destroy our economy. So the U.S. basically goes there and sucks the feet of the Saudi princes, saying, please don't flood the market with oil. Israel doesn't do that. Israel begs us for money. And then we
Actually, Saudi Arabia did that, I think, from asking from the U.S. to tank oil prices in order to fuck up Venezuela, not the U.S. Yeah. I think Timmy's a little off there. But all right, fine. A little rant. Here we go. He's making his case that Saudi Arabia has more influence. Why can't they just have equal influence? They seem like they have equal influence. Here we go.
Why
think
we've
Saudi
had the
Arabia
war.
is.
As far as foreign
You think
policy is
Saudi Arabia
concerned.
is?
Yeah, because of their control of the flow of oil. If Saudi Arabia dumps oil into the market, they destroy our economy. So the U.S. basically goes there and sucks the feet of the Saudi princes, saying, please don't flood the market with oil. Israel doesn't do that. Israel begs us for money, and then we give to them to build weapons.
Also, I just want to add, they can dump as much oil as they want, but they better be using the U.S. dollar or U.S. currency for that. Allegedly. I'm not an economics guy, to be honest with you, but this is what I've heard of the whole sort of petrodollar. All right? Just use the American dollar when you do these transactions with your oil and shit like that. And, yeah, if they lower the prices, okay. Well, I mean, the only time I've heard of that is them doing that in regards to Venezuela, to fuck Venezuela up, because Venezuela has large oil reserves, and if you tank the price of it and they're charging the standard, then boom, they have to lower their prices and you can fuck their economy up with it. Anyways, let's continue. I mean, along with the sanctions and everything else that they were doing. But here we go. And withholding their own gold reserves and European banks and all that shit. Anyways, let's continue.
So if Saudi Arabia and the OPEC nations could destroy the petrodollar overnight, and so Trump and all these presidents are constantly going there and saying, please, love of God, don't ruin our hegemony.
I think every war, like the Iraq war was for Israel, us going into Afghanistan. The entire war on terror was basically waged, and only Israel benefited from it. I don't think Saudi Arabia benefited as nearly
the
as
Iraq war?
From the Iraq war. Israel benefited from the Iraq war.
The Iraq war and the Afghan war are for
How's that?
There's obviously a bunch of reasons.
Sure.
The principal reason is we're surrounding Iran. But our involvement, our desire, I say our because it's not mine, but the U.S.'s desire to go to war with Iran is not because of Israel.
100%. It's one of the main reasons.
Israel wants us to go to war with Iran for sure.
Yeah.
But U.S. interest in going to war with Iran coincides with that.
Look,
What benefit do we get from going to war with
We
Iran?
want
Control the Suez.
Well,
No,
it's not
it's
the
not.
Total control of the trade route. Is what
Iran?
we're
No,
doing.
it's not the Suez.
Iran is a threat in the region.
That is very much a part of it. I don't know why they're denying that, but that's not the only reason, but that's a major part. And also have, once again, if you can control the entirety of think about it. If Iran bends the knee and goes along with a deal with the U.S., let's say there's no war, they make a deal, that's essentially, that's control over the whole fucking thing. Right? Where in the Middle East is there going to be anyone? I guess you have groups here or there, maybe throughout Syria, throughout Iraq, kind of Afghanistan, right? Who I just went over some executive orders today of Joe Biden, and what were they called? They were called Afghanistan's called a non NATO ally. So like, yeah, and we had the whole green zone in Iraq, like our own city in Iraq. Like, it would be hegemony over the Middle East. Iran is one of the few holdouts, I would think, right? You have Yemen, but let's be real. What can I guess they can shoot at shipping places. I mean, they're trying to deal with Yemen. They're trying to deal with Somalia, with bombings and deals with leaders, right? And Somaliland and all that shit. They control commerce through the entire area, right? I don't think Trump's trolling when he says, "I want some beachfront property." I think he means it in more than just Gaza. I think he means it all over the fucking place. To turn it into an enterprise and just stack McDonald's everywhere. And you can't have that unless any of these countries like either bend the knee or get shut down, taken over, turned into just a giant desert for us to pass fucking pipelines through. Just being real. You can go willingly, or you can go by the gun. Up to you. So, you bet your ass the U.S. will benefit. There's benefits for all this shit. For all parties involved that are on the quote-unquote ally side. Anyone going against them, you're going to eat shit. Or they're going to try to make you eat shit. And the Suez, that's a part. That's more of what? Egypt, already an ally. Jordan, already an ally. I think that means the Strait of Hormuz is maybe what he's talking about, which I think is Iran, I think. Forgive me, I'm just a commentator. I'm just a comedian, man. Forgive me. But yeah, all ports are important in regards to controlling an area or hegemony over an area, 100%. But all right, here we go.
War with Iran coincides with that.
Look,
What benefit do we get from going to war with Iran?
We want
All the Suez.
Well,
No,
it's not the
Total control of the trade route. Is what
Iran?
we're
No,
doing.
it's not the Suez.
Iran is a threat in the
Iran's not.
region, and we want full control of oil in the region, and we want to appease the Saudis who control a
Yeah,
large
Saudi
amount of that supply
Arabia
of
is a
oil.
major reason why we have the posture towards Iran that we do.
No, it's mostly Israel. Like,
As of recent, Iranians and Saudi Arabians have been getting along, as in potential peace deals with them. But as Syrian girl said, she was saying, once again, I don't know her expertise on it, but I heard her say, which is I think is an interesting idea, because the meeting did happen between, what was it, like their Secretary of Defense from Saudi Arabia met with Iranian leaders. That did happen. And it did look like a peaceful, like, hey, what's up, man? We're done with this tension bullshit. We're working together now. But the Saudi Arabians might have passed along the deal to Iranians, which is what Syrian girl is saying was passed to Assad, which is, yo, you have to forget about Palestinians. You have to let them go. We can make a peace deal and kill all these tensions. You can get your nuclear power, and then as time goes by, maybe we can get weapon power. You know, from the U.S. and other places, become like a real ally. That's possible, man. But what you got to do is you got to forget about these Palestinians. You got to let them go. And Syrian girl was saying like that was offered to Assad, and he said no. And we saw it happen with Assad, which once again just miraculously around election time, right? This fool just like it's pre-planned. Russia steps back, Iran steps back, Assad steps out, and now Syria's lost to the official Syrian government. Like there's a new government now there. It got fully destabilized. It's now taken over by a different group. People would call Al Qaeda, or even ISIS, or like like ISIS in Iraq or whatever. Or it was a Islamic State in Iraq, shit like that. So, yeah, that could be a possibility there. But yeah, the deal would be to, allegedly, if this thing is true, what I just said, the deal would be to just give up on the Palestinians and you're good. Like, and if I had to guess, if that were the case, it'd kind of be like the U.S. wants Israel to have full hegemony over the thing that they're going to call Israel, all right? As soon as you eliminate Gaza and the West Bank, you just call it, Samaria and whatever the fuck the other one's called. Judea and Samaria, just give them back those names. Thus, there's no more such thing as Palestinians. They control the entirety of the territory. No more settlements. They just live there, right? So it's just theirs. Then you can start building more expansion things for business, for the gangsters, right? The gangsters going to Vegas, going to the desert in Nevada, and turning it into Las fucking Vegas, right? Turning it into a moneymaker. For who? Gangsters. Duh. Oh no, they didn't want to live there. Whoever lived there that we bought out, or scared them out. All the people we scared into giving us licenses and all these deals. Oh, they want to leave anyways. Don't worry about that. They want to help us out anyways. They want to leave anyways. The Palestinians, they just want. Come on, no one wants to live. Look at that place. No one wants to live there. They're gonna want to leave. What if they don't want to? They're gonna want to leave. They're gonna leave. And then we'll turn it into Vegas in the Middle East. Well, another Vegas in the Middle East, right? Fucking Abu Dhabi, all these fucking places. Saudi Arabia is starting to let chicks in fucking bikinis walk around everywhere and shit. Right, this is about business. This is about evolution of business. Just you got to kill some people to get there. You got to kill a lot of people to get there. Even wipe out a certain type of people to get there. And that's just gangsters working together. So, once again. Now, this is not me saying I don't trust this guy. Well, I don't in the sense of I don't know the guy. Right? The manosphere shit looks a little weird, a little creepy to me. Whatever. He looks like Jafar from fucking Aladdin. That also weirds me out. But, and him being a Fed, I guess, a little weird. But that doesn't bother. I mean, it can work for people. It's whatever. As long as I believe you're being legitimate. But so far, he's not really peaking on the sus meter. He's just peaking on the man of the times narrative person. Like someone who is living in 2025. These are the narratives, and he's kind of living through them like a lot of people do. Right? They get caught up in narratives. They end up being possibly wrong at some point, not acknowledging it, and moving on to the next thing to get into. The next topic, the next fad, the next thing to be a part of. But who knows? Who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe he's full of shit. But let's hear more. I'd love for him to explain the foreign policy. I'm sure he did or has already. Like I said, I watched a little bit of his stream on Rumble, and he had information with it. Like he wasn't just like saying shit. I just hope like in this clip he brings up like direct information to these guys because Phil Penishead, Phil Boner right here, trash, super trash. Timmy, we know what Timmy is. Timmy's full of shit. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think Tim Pool is full of shit. I think that guy's full of shit. I think he's a Douglas Murray. But he's willing to rat in the corner. Watch it. That fucking joke James said, like, yo, if Tim Pool played Call of Duty, this fool would be ratting in the corner, watching his friends die, just baiting them. He'd be ratting in the corner. They all... It's like 4v4, right? Three of Tim's friends go out there and kill three of the dudes, and there's one guy left, but he's one shot, right? He's got 1 HP left, and Timmy lets his friends die first, and he hops out. He shoots one bullet and hits the guy like, "Look what I did! Look at me!" As he's fucking ratting, baiting his friends. You gotta be an FPS player for this, or a gamer to know what I'm talking about. So rat boy. Yeah, I don't trust Temple at all. I wouldn't trust him with children, to be real with you. But I have weird standards, man. I have weird standards. And this guy he's just trash. He's either an idiot or he's complicit with Tim Bull. Something tells me that he thinks the good marketing still is to favor Trump no matter what type shit. Which is just trash. But the Myron guy, right? Oh, I want to hear him out. I want him to put a dumb guy question in front of him to, I guess, try to prove his point, and then we'll see what Tim Pool does with it because, that'd be interesting. Or vice versa. And I forgot about the Ian guy. Ian, right? I think his name's Ian. He usually says the best shit out of everyone on Timmy's shows. Not out of everyone, not including guests, but like as far as the main crew, he usually says something that's actually interesting. Sometimes stupid, but a lot of times actually interesting. And I think he might have missed this. He might have mixed up the Suez Canal with the Strait of Hormuz. He might have mixed them up as far as what he was going with. But anyways, all right, let's get back to it. I know I ramble, but fuck off. It's my show for the third time. Here we go.
Why we have the posture towards Iran that we do.
No, it's mostly Israel. Like,
Why?
Iran and Saudi Arabia, yes, they've had problems.
Control. Well, it's not the total.
me.
You want full
Capture his
control of
question,
oil in
sorry.
the region, and we want to appease the Saudis who control
Yeah,
large
Saudi
amounts of supply
Arabia
of
is
oil.
a major reason why we have the posture towards Iran that we do.
No, it's mostly Israel. Like,
Why?
Iran and Saudi Arabia, yes, they've had problems, of course. But
Well, it's
I would
the
say,
Shia and the Sunni stuff. You know,
What's that?
like it's the Shia and the Sunni beef.
yeah, but
they have.
That's cartoon kindergarten foreign policy shit. That is kindergarten. I'm telling you right now, that's kindergarten shit. It really is. I don't think that has anything to do with anything. I'll keep it a buck. I don't think it's ideologically based. It's foreign policy based of why they've had different postures towards each other. But Iran has pulled out of Yemen. Another place where this guy might say it's about religious differences. Like, no. It's business as usual. Why they were doing these, crazy bombing campaigns with the backing of the U.S. against the poorest country in the fucking world. At least at the time, that's what they were. And they're doing relentless bombing campaigns. Not because of religious differences, bro. I'm just sorry. I don't think that's the case. These are gangsters. Right? Al-Qaeda doesn't hate us for our freedoms. I don't think that's a reality. I think that's for children to believe in. And this guy's a dumb fuck. The Phil guy, Phil Boner, is a dumb fuck. But all right, I went too far. But there we go.
Your reason why we have the posture
Jesus
towards
Christ.
Iran that we do.
no, it's mostly Israel. Like,
Why?
Iran and Saudi Arabia, yes, they've had problems.
He's got to
of
prove
course,
that one.
But
Well, it's
I would
the
say,
Shia and the Sunni stuff. You know,
What's that?
like it's the Shia and the Sunni beef.
yeah, but
they
that is not as much of the reason as Israel is by far the biggest
Why?
enemy to Iran. It's because Iran's the only country in the Middle East.
Why is the U.S. engaged in hostilities with Iran because of Israel?
Why? Because Iran is the only country that challenges Israel's hegemony in the Middle East because they have the ability.
Okay, now I got to pause because that's circular.
Go
What
ahead.
you're saying is Israel is the reason why we're involved with Iran because Iran is a threat to Israel. That doesn't explain why Israel is dictating U.S. be involved with Iran. You're just saying that Israel is threatened by Iran. We get this.
Yes, and that
Netanyahu met with Trump, and he said we want to do joint strikes, and Trump said no.
yes, because
It's a threat to our money. For the U.S. to have hegemony, they want Israel to have hegemony. Or they want allies to have hegemony. All right? That's what they want. If you're not a fucking ally, you're going to get shit on. Like I said, if they actually make a deal with Iran, if they actually make that deal, it's because Iran conceded on some very important things to the U.S. Which means what? The U.S. is the hegemony of the actual hegemony of the Middle East. The actual one. Not Israel. Although they've been the quote-unquote greatest ally, right? Because these guys will do what we want as much as we do what they want. It's an equal partnership, bro. I don't believe these articles saying, oh, Biden wanted to do something different, but he couldn't. Of course he could. Just the rest of the Congress, yo, we need these territories, Joe. Shut the fuck up and give them fucking money. Shut up and give them bombs and money, you dummy. Anyways. Here we go.
Letting U.S. be involved with Iran. You're just saying that Israel is threatened by Iran. We get this.
yes, and that
Netanyahu met with Trump, and he said we want to do joint strikes, and Trump said no.
yes, because he understands that going to war would not benefit us whatsoever.
I
However,
thought Israel controlled.
Okay. I'm not sure that Trump, maybe the foreign policy guys did call off some sort of strike that was going to happen by Israel. But if the reasons for it, I don't see them as being because we control Israel so much. It's more of strategic. Like, yeah, if we can get these guys to partner up with us and actually work with us, like, we just have to give them, it has to be two things. Allow them to have nuclear power, and Iran has to concede on getting external enriched uranium, and also you have to give up on the Palestinians, bro. Let them die. You have to let them die and let them get exported, let them get what's the word? Ethnically cleansed. Allow that to happen. If you can do all that, we'll give you money back, and in fact, we'll start building in your area. I mean, we'll own you, just like we own these other motherfuckers. But maybe one day it'll look more like a partnership than us owning you. Maybe one day it'll have the image that we're all, you know, homey and hospitality and all that stuff. We'll look like great friends on the big stage. And soon generations will go by and they won't even remember why we're even partners in the first place. They'll forget about the Game of Thrones shit that went down to cause all this to happen. They'll think we're all just living happily ever after together and making shit tons of money. And we'll have so much order in the world. Anyways. Let's continue. By the way, but regardless of that, as much as I'm like pushing back on little Timmy's points, the Myron guy has to stand up and give an actual foreign policy answer counter to Timmy. Here we go.
No.
Yes, because he understands that going to war would not benefit us whatsoever. However,
I thought Israel controls our interests, and it's why
they absolutely do. They absolutely do. But here's the thing: he's got to obviously weigh it out. Like, okay, they put me in, right? Because, you know, Myron and all the other, you know, Zionist backers, etc. They put me in. Like, I gotta appease them enough.
Back up again. I brought this up to someone in the comments before, where remember the Pied Piper strategy that was in the WikiLeaks emails, the Hillary Clinton campaign emails, right? Where they actually built this fool up to be the candidate to run against Hillary because they wanted because they thought he was the easiest opponent to defeat. Now, some people say it's the opposite, actually, that he was propped up to win for some reason. Which, you know what? All of it's conspiratorial in a way, right? It's all on the unbeaten path of concepts for politics. But I'm not going to attribute everything to Miriam Adelson or the Adelsons, right? In general, I'm just not. I think there's more to it, but worthy to question. 100% worthy to question. Seems like there's so many things that happen that seems too simple of an answer. Too simple. Or maybe I'm staring at it too hard and it becomes more complex than it needs to be. Who knows? But, all right, here we go.
However,
I thought Israel controls our interests, and it's why
they absolutely do. They absolutely do. But here's the thing: he's got to obviously weigh it out. Like, okay, they put me in, right? Because, you know, Myron and all the other, you know, Zionist backers, etc. They put me in. Like, I gotta appease them enough. I'm giving their 2,000-pound bombs. I'm allowing them to continue to wage war in Gaza. I'm allowing them to kind of go wild all over the Middle East, etc. But going to war with Iran might not be a good idea because they can actually hurt us economically. Now, of course, we would win the war with Iran, but Iran has the capability of making life significantly harder. They could shut down the Strait of Hormuz. They can launch missiles into Saudi Arabia and to the UAE, hurt our allies, destroy these oil locations and these strategic standpoints.
They're arming the Houthis. They're arming.
Sure.
The Iraqi insurgent groups, I forgot their name, and they're launching missiles at Americans.
Sure.
Wait, what? They're launching missiles at Americans? Yo, Myron. Yeah, it's like, once again, I don't know this guy too well, but yo, Myron, this guy is quietly selling a war. He quietly sold that right there. Once again, the Houthis say, like, we got nothing to do with Iran. They could say that, right? That could be bullshit, for sure. But when you see Saudi Arabia and Iran shaking hands with each other, and Iran pulling troops out of Yemen, knowing they're about to get shit on, like, they got a heads up, like, yo, we're going to shit on The U.S. was like, yo, here's a heads up. We're gonna shit all over fucking Houthis in Yemen. Get out, and they fucking left. That's not some ally shit to do. I don't think. Right? And then the people that have been bombing Yemen for years and years was fucking Saudi Arabia, right? Committing their own genocide in our lifetime again. So, dude, so Iran shaking hands with them and getting out of the area, like, maybe there is. Also, the him say like, oh, they're doing this. Like, start saying some actual information that can apply to this more than Miriam and Sheldon Adelson. All right, because those guys are clearly gangsters too. Those aren't like, we represent the Jewish people. They don't. We represent Israel. They fucking don't. They represent a certain gangster class of Israelis, 100%, but not Israel in general, obviously, and maybe not even the government in general. Definitely not the media, because we've seen things where these guys release articles, make documentaries talking specifically about them and their corruption, along with the money, and also arming funding Hamas. That also the U.S. also blames on Iran, on and so forth. Let's continue.
Missiles into Saudi Arabia and to the UAE.
I forgot my point.
Our allies destroy these oil locations and these strategic standpoints.
They're arming the Houthis. They're arming.
Sure.
The Iraqi insurgent groups, I forgot their name, and they're launching missiles at Americans.
Allegedly.
The Suez is probably one of the largest reasons. Appeasing the Saudis is a large reason. The Saudis want the Suez to flow properly because they have a lot of interest in that. Russia sends their fuel through the Black Sea, through the Bosphorus, into the Mediterranean, through the Suez to make it down into the Arabian Sea and into the Indian Ocean. So this canal is of vital interest to all of the global powers. This region.
And this is why he's rethinking war.
It is not
this is why he's
just
rethinking
because Israel.
No, Israel wants the war, and I'm saying a big reason why we have the issues that we have with Iran is because of Israel. That's what I'm saying. Saudi Arabia plays a part, but I would argue that Israel plays a more significant part because they've been trying to topple them and get rid of their nuclear program for decades. They've done false flags. They've done a bunch of stuff to try to get us into war. Luckily, it hasn't worked, but Israel is one of the biggest reasons why we have the posture that we have with Iran.
I think it's that's a modern.
I agree. They're definitely one of the. What we've seen on the surface and foreign policy-wise is, yes, they're a major reason why we're very active against Iran. But I think we're more so active against Iran because they're not, or at least up until maybe more recently, or what they might do in the future, they have not officially bent the fucking knee. They do that. Once again, Israel does not like Turkey. They're beefing with Turkey. They've been beefing with Saudi Arabia probably before Trump, right? They've been beefing with a bunch of Arab nations. But when these countries bent the knee, they went along with it fine. They had to go along with it. Saudi Arabia, now they're cool. Guess what? They could probably be cool with Iran if they bend the knee. That's my guess. So, and let's be real, Saddam Hussein. Let's say Israel's wanted war with Iraq. I think the U.S. wanted war with Iraq as well. Let's be real; they lied us into it. But I don't think on the behalf of Israel. I think Israel's just gangsters, a part of the gangster plan. All right, destabilize the Middle East, reshape it in your own image, make the money, have the power, have the hegemony, control the chaos. Right, and chaos meaning people behaving the way you don't want them to. Right? That's my opinion of it so far, at least. But all right, let's continue. Just trying to throw shit out there, let my thoughts run a bit. Forgive me if I get sidetracked. Anyways, here we go.
Israel is one of the biggest reasons why we have the posture that we have with Iran.
I think it's that's a modern.
And the
take.
reason why we're not getting into war was what I explained before, where it would economically hurt us a lot. If
I do want to jump to this next story, but I just want
Yeah,
to say
but Iraq
I understand the
did
point
as
you're
well.
making.
Sure.
And I think we're
it
largely
could actually
saying
help
like
us.
which geopolitical
Weapons
factor
industry.
is playing a more significant role.
Sure,
what,
sure.
What time period do you start? Because the British mandate for Palestine.
Yes, Ian, I get it.
you know?
We're moving on. Okay, I'm trying to wrap up the segment because we're talking in circles about foreign war and politics.
He always shuts Ian up. The guy who seems like he makes the best points, maybe sometimes incorrect or whatever, but he always says something interesting. Has to shut him up, obviously.
Geopolitical factor is playing a more significant role.
Sure,
What,
sure.
what time period do you start? Because the British mandate for Palestine.
Yes, Ian, I get it.
you know?
We're moving on. Okay, I'm trying to wrap up the segment.
He was gonna bring up the Balfour Declaration. Tim's like, shut up. Anyways, I gotta move on from this segment. It's like, what? Aren't you live?
Time period do you start? Because the British mandate for Palestine.
Yes, Ian, I get
you
it.
know?
We're moving on. Okay, I'm trying to wrap up the segment because we're talking in circles about
His
foreign war and
eyebrows
policy.
furled.
Okay,
He got mad.
so
Yeah, we can move to the next topic.
I'm trying to respectfully say I get what you're saying.
No, we can.
disagree.
We don't have to agree to disagree. We can
just-
agree to disagree.
Let's just jump to
It's
the
totally
next story.
cool. I think the people enjoy the conversation. That's what matters.
Right. I
People
completely
love this
agree.
stuff.
People love it.
I
So,
But I just feel like we've been on for like 30
we
minutes
can
on
move to
one
the next
subject.
thing, dude.
So
Yeah, we
good.
can move on, brother.
So we'll jump onto this next one.
Be worried about calling him brother. Anyways, okay, so that was like a small little portion of a topic. I don't think they really got into it enough. I think Timmy just cut that off when, let's be real, this might be the biggest topic in politics, is not just people focusing on the genocide in Gaza or what's happening in the West Bank, but also the U.S. with Iran, the U.S. in the Middle East in general. That seems like the biggest topic, and Timmy kind of just cut that off. I'd let that flow. But yo, Myron, if we want to talk about other shit, I'll bring you on again. We'll talk about that other shit that time. But right now, we should have been like, this is like a big, major topic for people. And like, I agree with Ian and Myron on that point. Like, yo, this is the topic people want to talk about. Let's keep going. But Timmy's trash. I told you he's trash. He's trash. So we had to cut that shit short. But all right. Regardless, okay. I didn't really learn or like he didn't help or hinder my opinion of Myron at all in this discussion. This little 5-minute clip. He clearly has an opinion that's leaning a certain way. I just want him to like actually explain it more. Maybe he did, and I didn't play those portions. Maybe he's explained it on his own time, on his own show, right? I don't look at the guy so far. I mean, once again, I get a little weary of all these motherfuckers, but there's not, giant bells going off like when Phil Boner talks or Timmy Jam talks, right? Those guys send off red flags when I hear them talk, and it just weirds me out. Either like, yeah, whatever. But all right. So we heard Matt Walsh, kind of maybe a little bit, talk a tiny, incy-wincy little bit on the Tucker Carlson show about Israel. We just heard Myron, who just said, yeah, it's Israel's fault. It's Israel's fault. Without any information, at least in this little segment, there's no information about it. Once again, he says it on his own show, or he said it earlier in this broadcast before Timmy changed topics. But I still, at the end of the day, whatever information he provides, it would have to be like bombshell shit, because otherwise I'm not going to say Israel runs our government or runs our military, or we get into conflicts in the Middle East strictly because of Israel. Or, I don't think he said that, but he's saying like that's like the main cause and reason. And something tells me he might go into some sort of ideological territory to make that point, which is scary to me especially when I'm thinking it's mostly business, gangsters, gangster business at hand, and it's partnerships and they're Game of Throning, and they're one subverting the other for the sake of getting an advantage over there, and then let's make a deal so that we can all win, everyone else loses, boom, right? That seems to make more sense to me. And not everyone has to agree with me, but I think it could get dangerous if people keep going this direction of blaming Israel for all this fucking shit. Of why, like, we're in the Middle East because of Israel. Like, these motherfuckers have been trying to expand for a long time. Before Israel, they were trying to expand into the Middle East, just like Britain, the UK was, right? Or Britain, right? Or there wasn't Israel. These fools were trying to move into the Middle East. The U.S. like, I see why too. So like, let's do that. Let's do that same shit too. In my humble opinion, I can't say I know. But all right, there's my opinions, my thoughts, my reactions. Yeah, subscribe if you like. Comment, agree, disagree. Tell me what you think about any of the videos, or if you want to add more videos, send a video to me. I think they allow that on YouTube now. Send me some videos. I'll give it a look. Don't forget to share, support, hopefully donate to all the links in the description box. And with all that said, give this video a thumbs down. Ah!
Say you wanna get in.